their style, not mimicking, not mirroring, moving in their direction, which is what we talk about at the conference a lot, will help you in your efforts to get your points across with them. Look, if you're different than somebody, if your natural tendency is different than them, and you want to be yourself, and you want to let them be themselves, you are essentially endorsing a gap that probably your communication skills can't bridge. The height of respect is to say, they're good, I'm good, what they do is okay, I'm not going to label it rude or stupid or slow, and I'm going to move in their direction. Particularly if they're a peer of yours. Apparently the organization seems to think they have some redeeming qualities, right? So engage in more of the behaviors you see them engaging in. And an easy one, this is not the only one, but an easy one is interrupting.
Well, so let's take the opposite.
Or pausing.
So let's go the opposite way.
Okay.
Right? You're an interrupter, and you're speaking with somebody who tends to pause,
who we would label as reflective or thoughtful or a thinker.
I like
Yeah,
I like those characterizations. They are labels.
Look, I got to tell you something. One of the things I've learned with DISC and the whole idea of paying attention to people's behavior is behavior is believable and behavior is universal. Yes, we can have discussions about culture, but culture doesn't make that much difference when it comes to communication and the behaviors around communication. It's not that people are different that causes discrimination. It's the judgment we put on top of the difference that causes discrimination. If you want to decrease discrimination, if you want to increase harmony, you have to be aware of other people's behaviors and you have to be willing to understand it, and that means being willing to do it even if it feels different from you. What's funny about this is we have a model for this. When in Rome, do as the Romans do, right? You know, there are certain customs, not culture, but customs that we ought to honor when we go to foreign countries. When people come to the U.S., when folks in the U.S. go to Brazil or to Russia or to China, it's just normal. And yet, for some reason, when it comes to our one-on-one interpersonal communications, well, you should just get along with my style and I'll just have to deal with your style. It doesn't make sense.
Right.
So look, if you're talking to somebody who pauses, slow the heck down. It won't kill you to pause a little bit. Particularly if you want to be effective with that person who doesn't want to be interrupted. If you want to be effective as opposed to just dominating the conversation before killing any chance you have of shared meaning, which is the whole point of communicating with somebody, right? Slow down. Take your time. We've shared it before in a podcast, the one breath rule, right? When that person is talking, finish going up in your breath or down in your breath before you talk. It will seem like forever to you. They will suddenly think that you're the most professorially genius person they've ever met. So change your behavior and you'll get better results.
Yeah.
Okay?
Even if it's uncomfortable.
Yeah, especially if it's uncomfortable. What have we said 1,000 times? Unless when you're learning, you're uncomfortable. Or when you're uncomfortable, you know you're learning.
Yeah, I just said that to get you excited.
You're just poking me with a stick, man. I'll say it again. You know, our very good friend Karen Adams said recently, I feel like I'm saying the same thing. I feel like I'm repeating myself all the time. Classic CEO statement, right? Over and over and over again. Repeat the message. What's Horstman's law about organizational communication? Say something 7 times, half your people will tell you heard it once. I'm going to say it again. This is the single most powerful tool I've ever learned in my professional communication life, and communication is the most frequent thing we all do in our professional lives. This tool alone, understanding the differences between you and other people and how you behave and changing your behavior to reduce the conflict and the tension, has been the single most important thing in making me an effective communicator in my life. You may choose to say I'm not an effective communicator. That's fine. That's somebody else's call. But compared to the way I used to be, I'm really effective.
Right. Okay, so we talked about assertiveness, right? Whether they tend to interrupt or whether they pause. So let's talk about the people tasking you, that other axis we described.
It's the same thing. The assertive and reserved axis is actually vertical. There's top and bottom, right? Whereas the people task is horizontal, and there's a left and a right. Left is task, right is people. So again, those who tend to think about people tend to smile more than those who tend to think about tasks. Remember now, neither is right or wrong, just different. People who are people persons interacting with the non-people persons. A good example is marketing talking to IT. We've used this example 5 million times, I think. You know, when marketing talks to IT, they think they're all dolts. They say these people they're not smart. They don't follow jokes. They don't tell stories. I think they're fairly cool. I don't trust them. They don't shake hands. They're not communicative. They answer in vague and uncertain ways, and they're not willing to engage. They're not willing to be collaborative, right? I mean, have you not heard that from somebody in marketing before talking about IT?
Once or twice.
Well, okay, so what's the other side of the coin? What do the IT people say? Marketing people are a bunch of fluff heads, right? Do they ever get any work done? All they do is sit around and pat each other on the back of how great they are. They're always smiling, always telling some story. And I'm burning budgets sitting here in this meeting. I can tell you exactly how many dollars per minute it cost me and my team to be in this meeting with these really important marketing people who do nothing but sit around and talk about their double frappe, no whips, cream skim soy latte thingy. Right. So yeah.
I'm waiting for the joke here because this is all true. This is all true.
It's true. In all humor, there is truth, right? Look, when you're conversing with someone, or again, when you're watching them converse with somebody else, note how often they smile. Would you say, and you don't need to know anything more than this, you don't need an analytical framework. Would you say they smile easily or they don't smile very much? Now look, believe it or not, you can actually count the smiles of other people, right? If you want to test this, compliment somebody during the course of a conversation with them. Some people smile when they say thank you, and some people don't. If you're somebody who smiles a lot, you might be surprised at how unsmiling it will seem for someone else to not smile when you compliment them. You compliment them and you think, well, of course they're going to smile. I feel good when people compliment me, so I smile. And so therefore you say, well, if they don't smile, they must not feel complimented. In fact, that's not true at all. They're just analyzing what you're saying, and they may be asking why you're saying it.
They're just rude. That's all. They're just rude.
Right? So if you're somebody who expects someone to smile and they don't, they're not being rude. They just don't tend to think of smiling as a high frequency behavior. Smiling to them doesn't seem to be a thing that will be helpful. That's all it is. It's not that they're rude. It's not that they're scared. It's not that they're a loner. It just means they don't think of smiling as something they do a lot. If you're not somebody who smiles now, you might kind of chuckle at how much some people will light up when you compliment them. Okay, now, sorry, they're not actually lighting up, which just goes to show you even our vocabulary isn't behaviorally based, right? We've created this entire vocabulary around describing behavior, which is really not actually the behavior. It's analogies around the behavior. You know, he's a top guy. He lights up a room. Yeah, that's not really true. Or we hope it's not true, right? So the question is, do they smile a lot? And then the question you asked earlier, what do you do?
What do you do?
Okay. If you notice somebody smiling more than you naturally do.
Oh, God, you're going to tell me I've got to smile, right?
Okay, there's a 7-step analytical process you need to go through, or you could just smile more. Okay? Yeah, it sounds simplistic. And you know what? We were doing this. Mankind was doing this stuff before there was digital technology, before there was silicone on a chip, before there was fire, before there was a wheel. Okay? Mankind communicated with one another and smiled and established trust through basic communications tens of thousands of years ago. Okay? It's simplistic because communication is rooted in a large part hardwired into our brain. And frankly, we're all so busy with so many things. Some simple things to move forward are the way to start. Look, it's really simple in this way. If you remember why you're doing it, you're going to be more persuasive and effective in your communications with other people if you smile more to people who tend to smile more than you do.
You know what I'm going to do? Because I fall in this category?
Yeah.
I'm going to get a Smile iPhone app. And when you talk to me and you smile, I'm just going to hold it up and you'll see a little smiley face.
Smile, yeah. That way you don't actually have to move your facial muscles. And you can just pretend that your iPhone is smiling for you. It's a brilliant solution. It's a technical solution.
It's a technical solution. So okay, let's talk. So now you're the smiling guy, and you're talking to me, the non-smiling guy. What should you do to improve your communications with me?
Smile less. It's the same thing, right? When I smile a lot and you're not smiling, you see that behavior is different, and you're not sure whether or not we're clicking. In fact, I would argue this. I'm going to use some labels here, but I think it's fairly true for many folks on the task side looking at the people side. The people on the task side look at the person who's smiling a lot over there on the right side, on the people side, and say, is he being truthful or is he being nice? Is he being accurate or is he being friendly? and implying that there's a distinction, right? Why would you need to be friendly with me? If your data is correct, there's no friendliness doesn't enter into this decision. The decision is a decision. It's numbers, it's math, it's projections, it's resources.
Right. I want to be persuaded on the data, not on the fact whether I like you or not, right?
Yeah. In fact, there are people who, salespeople think that all they need to do is be nice, and they meet some analytical person and they keep trying to glad hand them. And the analytical person, it gets worse. The analytical person becomes more analytical and less friendly, and the salesperson's like, man, that guy was not nice. No, you just weren't sensitive to that person is not a smiler. You turned on the charm and thought you could bowl them over, which is in a way,
which completely opposite of what they need to do.
Not only opposite, it's arrogant, right? Now there's a label, and I apologize for that. Okay, so engaging in similar, though not precisely the same, folks. You don't need to become smiling as much as the other guy. You don't need to become stone-faced, right? If you engage in similar behaviors as other people whom you're working with, that will increase your professional effectiveness by reducing the chances for conflict in your communications. It'll make it easier to communicate, and that increases your ability to persuade other people, which is the purpose of communication to begin with. It's persuasion toward shared meaning.
It's as simple as that.
It is.
Interrupt or pause.
Yep.
Smile or don't smile.
Yeah, it is. That's a way to start. And when you get good with that, come back and we'll have more.
There you go.
So, again, wrapping up, communication is just behavior. Remember 2 ways to think about behavior: assertive versus reserved, people versus task. When it comes to assertiveness, look for whether or not they interrupt you or whether or not they pause. If they're an interrupter, you can interrupt them more, and please do so. Don't stay at your same pace. Increase the pace of your speech. Or maybe they pause a lot. If they're a pauser and you're an interrupter, slow the heck down. I can speak from experience. Slow the heck down. If they tend to smile, smile more if you're not a smiler. And if they don't tend to smile as much as you do, smile less. Folks, we make communication too hard. We seem to try to make it about intent or personality or clues or hints about what's really being said behind the scenes, quote unquote. But to be effective, the first rule is to reduce the chance for miscommunication. Knowing how somebody else communicates, literally the words they say and how they say them, their facial expressions and their body language, makes us more effective as communicators. It's as simple as that, and it starts with us paying attention to the people who we are talking with. That easy.
Awesome. Thanks, my friend.
Thanks, partner.
All right. Thanks for joining us, everyone. We'll see you all again next week. In the meantime, have a great one. So long.